What's up guys, JV2017 here, and I aim with this video to bring you the most complete and comprehensive comparison between the Xbox One and the PS4. I have created a T-chart in about 9 to 10 different categories in which I will be comparing these two machines and systems, and I hope in the end you will be able to come to a better conclusion, because of course there's a lot of console war riffraff going on, and I feel like it's good to get everything in one place so we can set the record straight on which console is better for what kind of consumer, because it really does matter what kind of consumer we're talking about, whether it's the hardcore gamer or just the casual gamer. There's a huge distinct difference. So anyways, let's dive right in and start off with the hardware. To make a long story short, both of these consoles have very similar graphical capabilities. So there's not much distinction here. There's a little bit, but we'll go over that. So we have Blu-ray DVD drives in each console. They both have game DVRs, so you'll be able to record your gameplay, share with friends, whatnot, what have you. There's a little bit of a difference in the storage. So for the Xbox One, we have 8 gigabytes of DDR3, but in the PS4, we have 8 gigabytes of GDDR5. So that does not necessarily mean that it's better for the PS4. You know, 3 versus 5. 5 does not make it better. It's just different. So keep that in mind. It doesn't mean it's better storage or faster storage. So anyways, for the CPUs, we have the 8-core Microsoft custom CPU in the Xbox One versus the 86-bit AMD Jaguar 8-core. So they're both 8 cores. That's something really big to note. They both have very similar capabilities. So it's not going to be as much of a difference, probably even between the PS3 and the Xbox 360, because there was a noticeable difference between those two, you know, between 1080i and, you know, 1080p. So hopefully they'll be much closer, and I believe they will be. Cross-game chat. The reason I put that in there is because Xbox 360, of course, that's a huge thing. Party chat is a big thing. They actually didn't have that on the PS3. I know a lot of PS3 owners are like, duh, but a lot of Xbox 360 owners are probably like, wow, that's crazy. The PS4 will have some kind of cross-game party chat function going on. Neither of these consoles are backwards compatible, okay? So even though they have DVD drives, no, they are not backwards compatible. The architecture does not allow for that. The Xbox One will be region locked. If you don't know what that is, take a look at your console. If you live in Europe or Australia or someone like that, you most likely have a PAL console, a PAL console, and your games are all PAL. If you live in the United States and other places that I'm not aware of that use NTSC, then yeah, NTSC is region locked. So that's what region locked is. And I don't know the specifics of that, so I'm not going to try to act like I do know. But I do know for sure that the Xbox One will be region locked, just like the 360, but the PS4 will not be region locked. So I assume that means you could just, if let's say scenario, you live in Australia and you move back to the United States, you bought a PS4 in Australia, you want to bring it back to the United States and use your account, you will not have any problems. However, if you did that on a 360, let's say, you did have problems. So from a hardware standpoint, these two consoles are very similar. We're not seeing very much difference here. So I think that's a good thing. I really do. But anyways, let's get on to the connectivity. So when I talk about connectivity, I mean, is this thing always online? Does it require a connection? And of course, at the Sony press conference last night, they blew the Xbox out of the water. So the Xbox One, they will require you to have a 24-hour online check-in to make sure you are not having any funny business going on. Every 24 hours, you better be online or else it will not let you play a game. Pretty crazy restriction stuff going on there, if you ask me. Also, if you log into another console on your account, it'll check every 1 hour, because usually that's how people share games with each other. It's not illegal, but it's not exactly what Microsoft wants, because they want as much money as possible. I mean, these are companies. So also, it runs in a low-powered state that is pretty much always connected. So that's interesting, and the reason it does that, I'll get to that in a bit later, more in depth, but it updates and whatnot in a low-powered state, so you never have to update a game, you know, while you're playing, so, or when you want to play. So that's the connectivity for the Xbox One. For the PS4, there is no online check-in required and no required connection. You can play this thing offline if you want. There are no restrictions whatsoever. If you don't have an online internet connection and you can't play online, that's no problem with the PS4. However, it is a huge deal with the Xbox One. So while this does not affect me in any way, I mean, I will have an online connection. This definitely affects plenty of people. Not everyone has broadband, really fast internet. So the fact that the PS4 took this route of not requiring any kind of online connection is a huge, huge deal. And I think that's going to be a big buying point for a lot of those consumers that don't really have really good access to awesome internet like most of us do, or some of us do. So anyways, yeah, always on versus not always on. You decide. So now we're looking at the controllers, and I really feel like this is a subjective thing, but I think it's worth noting what each brings to the table. So first off, with the Xbox One, we have an improved design. Now, again, this is my personal belief. I believe that the Xbox 360 controller currently is a far superior controller than the PS3. The PS3 controller, for me, is just a very small, very awkward, and it feels like a toy. It's plastic. It's just not, doesn't have any weight to it. It's not comfortable for my big hands. And so I feel like they've improved on a design that they already had down with the Xbox One. And they also moved the battery pack. They moved it back into the controller. So now it's not really as obtrusive. It's not obtrusive at all now. Now you have freedom with your fingers in the back. And if you play Xbox, you know what I'm talking about. So they also have the share button, which they didn't really show a lot of. I guess they kind of did, but not really. So anyways, onto the PS4 controller. I feel like this thing looks way more ergonomic, way more comfortable. By ergonomic, I mean comfortable. It looks like it's way more comfortable to have in my hands, and it looks like it really can contend with the Xbox One controller in terms of what's more comfortable. I really think it looks very, very comfortable. So that's cool. Something strange to note, we still have that touchpad, but they did not show a single thing with the touchpad at E3 with the PS4 controller. We don't know what this thing does, which is very strange. I don't know, maybe they're like, we don't know what to do with this thing. I don't know. It's got a touchpad on the front, but we don't know what it does. So there you go. And they also have a share button on the PS4 controller, as well as to be expected. Both consoles, you'll be able to share stuff, with your friends, social media, whatever. They both have share buttons. So as far as who wins the console, the controller war between the console war, I wouldn't give it to either one. I just say it's a draw because we don't know. You honestly don't know which one you like better until you have it in your hands. And not a lot of people are going to have both of these controllers in their hands. So I don't know which one feels more comfortable, but I do know that I can make, these judgments by looking at these controllers. So there you go. So next up, we're looking at comparing these two kind of, I'd call them extra hardware doohickeys on each new console. First, we have the Kinect with the Xbox One, or Kinect 2, and the PS4i. So first off, with the Xbox, they are Kinect heavy. They are pushing this device. It comes with the Xbox One in the box. It has to be plugged in in order for you to use the device, and it has voice recognition, and they're pushing the Kinect very, very heavy. They want people to use their Kinect, obviously, because it comes with the machine and it has to be plugged in. So again, they're pushing a lot of voice recognition. If people don't want to be active, they're pushing voice recognition. They want this device to be used. So that's for the Xbox. Now with the PS4, it's very strange because we know the PS4i is there. We know it's a piece of hardware, but actually from a quick search, I found out that it is not required. Well, that's a good thing. Pretty sure that was, you could guess that it's not required, but it does not need to be plugged in. So that's in stark contrast to the Kinect. Not required, does not need to be plugged in, and it's $59 and it's optional. It does not come with the PS4. So if you want nothing to do with any kind of motion, get up off the couch and get active, any kind of anything like that, I would go PS4, to be honest, in that respect, in that regard. But if that's a big deal for you, it's an optional device, and it didn't say anything about voice recognition. I don't even know if the PS4i has voice recognition. It's a big thing for the Xbox One and the Kinect 2. But we don't know if voice recognition is on the PS4. And they didn't really show off the PS4i at all at E3, at their press conference at least. So we don't even know if that's like a big selling point for the PS4. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it's not, because again, it's not required, it's completely optional, and it's 59 bucks. So honestly, the only reason I think they have a PS4i is to compete with the Kinect. I mean, who cares if nobody uses it? At least they have a device that's like the Kinect, that probably has similar Kinect capabilities. However, it will not be used nearly as much as the Kinect, but the Kinect's really a casual crowd kind of thing. I think everyone knows that. So judging from both the Sony and the Microsoft press conferences, one of the big new features for the next generation seems to be the ability to use different kind of technological devices that would normally be lying around your living rooms to kind of augment your play. And it seems like from, again, both of the press conferences, they both showed off the ability to take a tablet and do some crazy stuff, like Commander mode with Battlefield 4, and the ability to like control a drone in the Plants vs. Zombies thing they showed off at the Sony press conference. Very cool stuff. But anyways, let's start out with Xbox One. So the Smart Glass. This technology has been around for the 360. Actually, for at least a year. I know that for sure. But there is like 100% full integration with some games. Not all games, but a lot of the games they showed, there was some completely awesome, amazing integration with Smart Glass. I know in particular with The Witcher 3, they mentioned the ability to have inventory management through your tablet. Very fantastic. That is an incredible idea. It almost blows the Wii U tablet controller idea out of the water, because you can just take out your iPad or iPhone and manage your inventory. That's incredible. I can't wait for that technology. Yeah, special modes, like I just said, like Commander mode in Battlefield 4, you can drop down torpedoes or some crazy stuff with that, so that's pretty cool. Now with the PS4, it's a little strange. They have a technology that they've had with the PS3 already with the Vita called Remote Play. So you can literally, if you're playing your PS4 or PS3 game, let's just use the PS3 for example, because that technology is already around, and you're playing, you know, some game, you're able to click one button and send it to your Vita and play it remotely. Really cool stuff. So that is definitely going to be a big feature with the PS4. However, there was also tablet use. There's some kind of tablet integration going on. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the game right now, but they were on a tablet. Actually, I think it was Battlefield. They were on a tablet when they did the 64-player thing. I'm fairly certain they were using PS4s for that. But there was tablet integration. So the tablet thing will be a thing with the PS4, but I don't know the official name for that. Is that also called Remote Play, or is that just tablet integration? I'm not 100% sure on that. And again, there will be different special modes, like I said before, with that tablet integration, like Commander mode and hopefully some inventory management as well on the PS4 using our tablets. And here is the big juggernaut in terms of comparing these two systems, in my opinion, used games. So basically, what happened here was information got revealed right before E3 for the Xbox One that there were a ton of used games restrictions. And of course, the rumor all along was that both consoles would have these kind of restrictions. They would have very similar restrictions, but that turned out to not be the case at all. So basically at the Microsoft press conference, they did not talk about this at all. There was a bunch of confusion, but however, like I said, a bunch of information came out on the Xbox official website right before, and here's most of that information, if not all of it. Basically, the publisher will be able to decide whether or not your game is tradable. So whether you can trade your game in for money at only participating retailers, that's a big asterisk there. The publisher decides that. So if Activision decides that you cannot trade in your Call of Duty game, you can't trade it in. That's the deal. Participating retailers, let me guess. GameStop, and GameStop. I feel like they have some kind of agreement going on, and that'll be pretty much the extent to which the participating retailers will be. You know, maybe other retailers. I don't know if Walmart takes used games, but I feel like Walmart might get in on that if they do. Stuff like that. Also, 30-day friend restriction. So if you want to give a game to your friend that you already played, let's say you played the hell out of it, you don't want to play anymore, in order to give it to a friend, you have to at least have been friends with them for 30 days on Xbox Live Gold. So that's a thing. That's a restriction, which just seems a bit silly to me. And then finally, one-time game trade. So if you want to give your game to a friend, you can only give it once. Only one time. That is it. So I believe there's going to be a lot of usage of the codes. You know how you come home and put in your pre-order code and get something cool or something not cool? Depends on what you're getting. That's going to be probably used a ton more if I had to guess. So hopefully they upgrade their typing system because it is so slow on the 360. But anyways, that is the extent to which used games function on the Xbox One. Now here is where it gets very interesting. With the PS4, Sony had their entire press conference, and at the very end, they just pretty much sucker punched Xbox One. They boned them. I don't know how to describe it, but they came out and said there are 0 restrictions on used games, and it is most definitely share friendly. And actually, Sony released an official video of like the guy that was talking the whole time, I can't remember his name, and another guy from Sony, and they were like, here's how you share games. Step 1, and then one guy handed a physical copy to another guy, and they were like, there, you're done. So literally, they are just egging on Xbox in terms of used games. And I think this further pushes the fact that PS4 is the gamer's console, and gamers did not want used games to be restricted whatsoever. We want to be able to do what we want with our games that we bought with our money. And so this is a huge selling point for the PS4, again, in my opinion. And I feel like it will affect plenty of fans of both consoles and their opinions on which console they want to get. So basically, you have a lot of restriction on the Xbox One, and no restriction on the PS4 in terms of used games. So that whole participating retailer bullshit, publisher discretion does not apply to PS4. Next up, at both the Microsoft and the Sony press conferences, both companies are really pushing the cloud, and that's like a big feature for the next generation consoles. So let's start out with the Xbox One. I don't know what they call their service. I'm just going to call it cloud service for now. But basically, they're going to be having background cloud computing, which sounds really complicated. But the best example of that is in Forza. They had their Forza presentation or whatever at their Microsoft press conference. And they were saying that within the cloud, using cloud computing, they're going to analyze the way you drive, and then whenever you're not playing, your friends can play against a ghost of yourself that drives just like you, which sounds very complicated, but incredible stuff. If you want more clarification, you should go watch that press conference if you didn't already. But that was just really cool that they said that they could do that. Also, using the cloud, there will be low-powered updates, and that means basically the console never actually goes off. When you have this thing plugged into the internet and plugged into the wall, it doesn't actually go off when you tell it to go off. It stays in a low-powered state, and it will update your game. And the reason it does that is because they don't want you to have to be waiting on updates, because everyone, gamers are impatient, creatures. So they don't want you to have to wait on that. Also, we'll have day one downloads for games. Awesome. I am never going to get out of my, place of living again. I mean, seriously, I am going to download my games on day one. That's fantastic. I'm very glad about that. They did not say whether or not their service was available on launch. The PS4 clarified when their service was available, but I think we can assume that this is going to be available on launch because they didn't say otherwise. So that's what I'm going to assume. So on the PS4 side, we have something called Gaikai, which is this other company. They're basically just saying, hey, this is the name of this other company that's going to be managing our cloud services, and they're also going to have background cloud computing with the PS4, background updates. I don't think the PS4 runs in a low-powered state like the Xbox One because it's not always online. and it's not required to be always online. So I don't think it's quite the same system there. We will also be having day one downloads for the PS4 using Gaikai Cloud. You'll be able to play while downloading. Oh my god, this is a great feature. So that means the day that Fallout 4 has not been announced, this is just hypothetical. The day that Fallout 4 comes out, I get to click the download button, and then probably the max amount of time I'd need to wait is like 5 minutes. And I'm even fine with waiting 5 minutes. But I get to play the game to a certain extent while the rest of the game is downloading. That's awesome. That is really, really convenient. And so I really think, in terms of the cloud, PS4 and Gaikai, they're trying to take the position that they want you to be able to play your game whenever and wherever. So that is very, very cool. And they also gave us a firm date that Gaikai would be released on the PS3 and PS4. So if you're not ready for that console generation leap, you can also have this service on your PS3. It'll be available in 2014. They didn't say what time, but 2014. So very much looking forward to the Gaikai service if I do indeed get a PS4. A big part of next generation console gaming is actually going to be streaming. And both Xbox and PlayStation, they have their separate partnerships. So Xbox One has a streaming partnership through Twitch. You'll be able to stream your gameplay through Twitch, live broadcast. That's pretty freaking cool. And also the PS4 has Ustream. So let me just speculate on this purely from a consumer standpoint and someone who doesn't know a ton about streaming, but I do know enough. And I'm fairly certain that Twitch is a far more popular service for video games and just streaming in general than Ustream. Again, I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty sure that Twitch is the more powerful or more popular outlet to have your streaming out of. So take that as you will. I'm pretty sure the Xbox One has the more popular streaming service or streaming whatever website that they're going through. So, but they both stream, and that's a cool new feature. And now for one of the most important, if not the most important selling point for whether or not you're gonna get an Xbox One or a PS4, the exclusives. Now, before I go into each one, I want to say that from what I understand and what I've seen and what I've looked up, it looks like the PS4 has way more exclusives, way more exclusive games. However, Xbox One has those really, really, really heavy hitters, and actually games that I consider to make me want to get an Xbox One over a PS4. Seriously. Titanfall, oh my gosh. I mean, that's a killer to have on a console and then not have on another console. Really, really strong exclusive. So, anyways, I just picked the top 7 in my eyes from each console. So, first off, for the Xbox One, we have Forza Motorsport 5, looked very solid. Halo, that game's probably not coming out this year, but we know it's coming down the pike. So, Minecraft is a huge exclusive. If you have Minecraft on Xbox 360, you know that you can put hours and hours and hours into that game, and it was only 20 bucks. Like, easily one of the best investments of your money in the Xbox 360, and they're coming out with an Xbox One edition that's even better. So that is a really, really big exclusive in my eyes. Project Spark is also a really big exclusive. I like to call this the 3D version, 3D social version of Little Big Planet. Little Big Planet's actually pretty social, but Project Spark is very much a creative space where you can spend your time and create your own game, which is crazy cool. And I think that's a really awesome exclusive for the Xbox One. Rise, definitely a strong exclusive, contending with God of War, I guess you could say. Quantum Break, I'm not sure what I think about that. I don't know enough about it, but looks like a compelling game. And again, like I said, Titanfall is just such a huge exclusive that I think people will actually, just that one game, people will decide to buy an Xbox One over a PS4. At least it's in that category for me. So, onto the exclusives for the PS4. Of course, we have Gran Turismo 6. Solid, of course. It's the real driving simulator, whatever. Killzone Shadowfall looks very, very solid. Amazing, amazing graphics, as always, from the Killzone games. Infamous Second Son. I haven't played any of the Infamous games. I kind of have... I've been an Xbox 360 guy, really, for this past generation. But, of course, I've loved the Ratchet & Clank games and God of War games and some of the Uncharted games. But I didn't get a chance to look at Infamous, but I'm sure this game is going to be a great follow-up to Infamous 2, so that'll be cool. The Order 1886, it looks like some kind of steampunk werewolf hunting game that looks very, very cool. I'm actually really looking forward to that on the PS4. So that's cool. The Elder Scrolls Online, that was a big announcement. This online MMO is coming to a console, to the PS4, and I believe that's possible because we have Destiny, which is almost like an MMO, but it's like Bungie's own spin on it. But that's multi-platform, of course. But yeah, so Elder Scrolls Online is a huge addition to the PS4 library, in my opinion. So that's a pretty hard-hitting exclusive. Of course, Kingdom Hearts 3, if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan, that's a big deal. I know a few Kingdom Hearts fans, and they're really going crazy over that. And Knack is a fun little game made by one of the dudes that worked on Ratchet & Clank. So that's a pretty big exclusive in my eyes. But the PS4, it is very much more indie focused, from what I can tell. So if you were to kind of distinguish the two, you've got the multi-platform games on both consoles. You've got each console has its own exclusives. Then the PS4 has much more of an indie-heavy focus than the Xbox One. Then I guess you could replace that indie focus on the Xbox One with more of a casual focus with Kinect games and stuff like that. Because it's not like there's any PS4i games. So yeah, that's where I would draw the line there on games. And finally, I wanted to touch upon this because I think it's really important when looking at these consoles. Both of these consoles are going to be offering some incredible multi-platform games. I mean, there's no reason really. I mean, the exclusives are great, but people need to realize that these are just the top 7 games that are coming out multi-platform. These are some really damn good games that are going to be coming to both consoles. And I think people need to really realize that Destiny, Watch Dogs, The Division, a brand new IP that just blew us away, Battlefield 4, The Witcher 3, Assassin's Creed 4, and Ghosts, they're all coming to both consoles. These are really big titles. And so these really don't have any impact on what you're going to decide on, which console you're going to get. But I think it's important to note that these are going to be available for both consoles. So, keep your wallets open because these games are going to be really good. And I don't care what console you're on, you should definitely invest money in these games. They're going to be really awesome. I don't know about COD, but yeah. And finally, the price point. The Xbox One, of course, is going to start at $500, and the PS4 will start at $400, a full $100 cheaper. So this is a very big deal, okay? The fact that this machine is $100 cheaper, the PS4, is a selling point. It is a complete selling point for a lot of people. Not everyone has enough money to shell out on an Xbox One. Why would you pay an extra $100 for features that you're not going to use? Something that I did not mention, which I kind of regret not mentioning until now, the Xbox One has TV functionality. That is a big feature. And if you're looking for an all-in-one device for your living room that will play TV, that will play games, that will play movies, if you're willing, if you have that extra $100, the Xbox One is a very good device to buy. If you want all of that stuff, all your entertainment in one place on one device, that's an Xbox One, okay? But if you're not looking for that, if you're a core gamer, I mean, I really do think the PS4 is a solid choice. And the reason I'm not being so biased towards one side is, number one, you guys are so just inflammatory about console war bullshit. But seriously, I'm just gonna take this. If I were to go and make a verdict on which console I'm gonna buy, I actually talked with a friend a second ago about this. I would say the PS4. Why? Because I am about to be a pretty much broke college kid, and I don't need a device that also plays TV. And $100 off is a very good reason for me to buy a PS4. And this is the real world here. Consumers, it's all about the consumer, okay? And say you come from a pretty well-off family, you guys need something for the entertainment room, I'm sure an Xbox One is going to be a far better choice than a PS4. Seriously, if you come from a wealthy family, you have that internet connection, you have the extra money to shell out, you need an all-in-one device that's, user-friendly, that everyone in the family can use, bam, Xbox One. However, if you're that core gamer, you maybe don't have all that money laying around. $100 is both a lot of money and not a lot of money for some people. It depends, of course. So for me, right now, it makes the most logical sense for me to buy a PS4. However, Titanfall is really keeping me on the fence. Same with Minecraft. Minecraft and Titanfall are the two main things that are keeping me on the fence. The whole used game stuff, while that is a big issue, that does not really affect me. So I'm not really basing which console I'm buying off of used game slash always online stuff, because I don't really care about used games, number one. Number two, I don't care about online because I will be always online. That's not an issue for me. So really, it comes down to price and exclusives for me, and it's a really tough decision. But being kind of that pretty much broke college kid, even though I do make YouTube money, the PS4 is really probably the best console for me. That's just for me, my opinion. So anyways, guys, I hope I provided the very best, full, complete analysis of Xbox One versus PS4. I tried my hardest with this video. I know it took 31 minutes, but anyways, I'd really appreciate a like. This is a really high-effort video, and for more E3 coverage, stay on my channel. Talk to you guys later. Peace.